again, so this is why we'll never look back, and
Yeah.
I'll let Karen read
So
this
the
through.
classroom is now a community of learners where all knowledge is respected and valued. And that's the key to knowledge building. And it allows students to build their natural curiosity about their world and to really go after their interests and develop that sense of wonder and natural curiosity and learn about what they are truly interested in. It promotes 21st century teaching and learning. They develop the skills. It allows students to be the engineers of their own learning. And when we had some guests in visiting, my grade 5 teacher brought his students down to share what they were doing in the classroom. And they were not prepped for this. And it was just a natural conversation, and I wish I had taped it at the time. And one of the students said, well, you know, Mr. Frenza really doesn't teach us anymore. He just kind of facilitates what's going on in the classroom, and we're kind of the engineers now of our own learning. And you know, I thought, wow, that really depicts the transformation that has taken place in the classroom. And again, Jason is a competent teacher. It didn't bother him for his students to say that, you know, because he is learning with them, and he understands how valuable that is. He doesn't necessarily have all the answers, and that's another big learning, that sometimes you don't find the answer to the question you're investigating, and that's okay.
One of the other pieces, and this is again an accidental discovery on my part, I was doing a TPA last year, and I went into one class that kids were working on a project, and one of the boys was a knowledge builder from Glenn's class, and so I just started having a casual conversation with him. I said, how has knowledge building helped you in this data management project? And the student, he thought about it, and he goes, well, I don't know if it's really helped me. I'm like, well, you know, what's your role in the group? He said, well, I'm the leader. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you leading? And so he talked about the process that he led his group through to solve this question that the teacher posed for the kids. And it was, you've got $10,000, you're an NGO, how are you going to convince me that your spending in a needy area is important? And so they had to analyze data. And so he described his process, and it was right from his knowledge building class. So he had the prompts, he challenged kids' thinking, and from a group perspective, they were leaps and bounds ahead of the other groups. So it was neat that the student had integrated some of that learning in terms of how to ask questions, how to push people, how to bring people together into a totally different context without realizing it, and helped improve both his own learning and some of his peers. One of the key things, and we talked about why we'll never look back, I do want to just make sure we all know that it's not replacing just everything that we do. Knowledge building doesn't always work in all places. It is time consuming, but we do want to give kids the experience and the exposure. So that's something that's been really big in our process in terms of working with people, that it's part of everything that we do, not replacing what we do. But I think it's an important thing that we add to our repertoire because of this. It really honors our students and that student voice. And again, for me, it was a big penny drop moment where I really started to understand what student voice meant as a leader. You know, I always kind of, oh, it's a survey, it's this or it's that. But this, I think, really authenticated it for me as an educator.
And I know in our capacity building sessions with our teams from other schools, we brought together a student panel of students both in junior and the intermediate grades, and just allowed the administrators in the room to ask them questions of how has knowledge building changed the way you learn and think in the classroom. And it was outstanding how the students responded. And when we hear that student voice, I think that's what really motivates us to go back to our schools and to see how we can bring about knowledge building and create those knowledge building communities, because student voice is so powerful.